And now we're recording.
Okay. I would like to call to order the February 15th, 2022 Hideaway Hills Club Board of Trustees meeting. We have all board members accounted for with exception of Eric Lapp, who is excused. And before I entertain a motion to accept the agenda, I need to make one change. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that my template read review of the November 2021 board minutes in motion. So if I could get a motion to amend tonight's agenda.
This is Mary Beth. I'll make a motion to modify the agenda to say that it would reflect the January 2022 board minutes.
Correct.
I second that.
Okay. Motion made by Mary Beth, seconded by Cabot. May I have all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The president's report. We barely got over the anniversary of the blizzard of '78 when we had the ice storm of 2022. And it's probably the worst ice storm I can remember in the recent past. I think we had one 10 years or 12 years ago that was fairly bad as well. But once again, our community came together for each other. We had neighbors checking on neighbors. We had people that cooked food. We had volunteers helping to remove trees. We plowed driveways. We delivered gas and we delivered firewood. And in general, we took care of each other, which is what we always do. Some of the people worked on the ground and some worked behind the scenes. There were people out with chainsaws and generators and just in general trying to help out the neighbors and try to get through the couple days. Security and maintenance, as always, were nothing short of fantastic. Maintenance was here from 7 a.m. Thursday to 5 p.m. on Friday. They removed well over 100 trees off the roads before we could even get started treating the roads. And then they went out and checked on all the generators and made sure they were full of gas at the clubhouse and the lodge. We then brought them back in on Saturday for some staggered shifts to begin the task of plowing the roads. We were somewhat hindered by the fact that two of our asphalt tailing trucks had taken on water from the ice storm and were frozen in the back of the trucks. We'll look to address that going forward if we're faced with a storm of similar consequence. And we also had security here. We had a couple guys here for over 48 hours. We rallied around on Saturday to try to provide them some relief. I kind of networked myself a little bit with a couple guys from the management committee, and when they went down there to relieve them, they didn't want to be relieved. They said that they were there and they understood the consequences and knew what needed to happen. And I think that shows the dedication from our employees. So once again, hats off to them. I know we say that every time we have a storm, and this one was a little larger than what we're accustomed to dealing with. There were things that we did learn from the storm, some things we can do better. We were without power and internet, so we couldn't put out any widespread e-blasts to the membership. We'll look to see if there are some alternatives to that. And we also had a problem or a challenge, if you will, with our generator at the clubhouse. Both security and maintenance kept it going for an extended period of time. And when it looked like that we didn't need, at least at the clubhouse, to provide shelter to a widespread group of people, we elected to go ahead and shut that down. So the big vote is this Sunday. I would encourage everybody who hasn't already done so via absentee ballot or electronic voting to please show up and vote, regardless of what your opinion or what your vote is. We want the representation. Please come in and vote. We've got new staff at the lodge. I've been up there a couple times and seen them functioning, and they're doing a great job. Had the opportunity to meet the new manager. She seems very engaged. The month wasn't without the normal Hideaway Hills functions. I believe we had a wine dinner that sold out in 6 hours, Jeff?
5 hours.
5 hours. Sorry about that. I want to give it its due. But that's pretty cool. And I saw that the notice went out for the next one this afternoon. So if you plan on attending that, you might want to jump on it pretty quick. We also had playoff football party at the clubhouse that, as I understand, was very well attended, to the point where we thought we probably should open up the lodge as well this weekend. And I understand we had 20 or so people that were at the lodge for the Super Bowl. Sometime this week, you'll probably see us start on the RFID project. I think email went out today pertaining to that. And I would also tell everybody that I personally looked it up, and it's 33 days until spring. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. So hang in there, gang. And hopefully within another month or so, we'll be far better off than we have been here the last couple of weeks. That being said, I would open it up to Linda Hodge with her review of the 2022 January board minutes, please.
I move to approve the January 18th, 2022 minutes.
I'll second that.
Linda Hodge made the motion. Doug Parker seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Linda, you've got any correspondence this month?
No correspondence.
That's pretty wild. That's unusual. That takes us to Cabot and the treasurer's report and motion.
Yeah, and I want to thank Jessica Hedges back in the office for the big assist this month while I'm down here south in Florida. She did a great job. So we started the month with $162,890.82. That was January 1. And our 27 committees or subcommittees, a fairly slow month except for the Lakes Committee and the Health and Wellness, of course, as they move on towards the opening of this rec center, probably within a few months, I would imagine by now. Other than that, things were fairly slow in January, as you would imagine, and then with the weather too. So at the end of January, the ending balance was $157,727.75, so about 5,000 less than where we started at the beginning of the month. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this committee treasurer's report for January.
I'll second that.
Motion made to accept the treasurer's report by Cabot, seconded by Linda Hodge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Cabot.
Could I make one note there? One note there. It's not a major issue, but again, we have Fun Food and Fellowship on the committee there, which should only be Food Services Committee at this point.
Right.
Okay.
That's
We'll
all.
take
That's all.
we'll take care of that. Yeah,
That's fine.
I'll remind. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Noted. Now we'll move to Steve Cundiff in Rex Everly's absence. We've asked Mr. Cundiff to step up to the plate this evening. Steve?
Evening, everybody. I'll just give you a quick rundown of our January 18th Management Committee meeting. I think a lot of you guys have seen this already, but we'll go through the quick rundown. As discussed at our last meeting, the Management Committee itself has decided that we're going to go to one business meeting a month, that being on the second Tuesday prior to this meeting, so that if there's anything that needs to be pushed to you guys, that'll be able to be taken care of. We did this so that we would have the fourth Tuesday.
I don't know, but Marlene said he asked about me today. So
Cindy, we're going to need you to turn off your mic, please.
Well, that was nice. A lot of people ask about you.
Okay.
It happens.
So we'll have the fourth Tuesday so that we'll be able to, as we have so many projects, it takes us a while to sift through all the information, especially if we're buying equipment or a piece of equipment that we need to bid. And in lieu of doing that during the meeting, and it just takes a lot of time out of our meetings when we have those discussions. So we want to be able to gather our bids, bring all that together in one thing so we can give a concise report on it prior to a vote at that second Tuesday meeting. I think it'll clean up our meetings a little bit, and sometimes we get off on side discussions, and I think it's just going to help us be direct to the point on those meetings and without hearing any objections from you guys. That's our plan. Unless Jeff has anything, I don't know of any open expense requests that we have. Chaz, you've already touched on the storm review. Basically, the issues that we found were the potential or the beginning generator issue, which has been ongoing basically for the last 2 years since we put the generator in at the clubhouse. Thinking it was an alternator, we now know that it was an internal wiring problem, which now has been corrected. Finally got the right person from Generac here and has made that correction to it. So we should have a reliable generator at the clubhouse if and when we ever need it again. Security phone service, we kind of figured out now was up and down during the ice and snow emergency. Talking with them, I think that's Saturday night when we were down there, that every time the generator would cycle due to heaters or the furnace, it would cause the generator recycle and kick out, which would then in turn kick the phones out. So as many people tried to call, that's when you went directly to voicemail or got a busy signal. So they'd have to remember to reset that. So Jeff has already worked on, I believe, putting a hardline phone in there, an old analog phone like we did. He really wanted to put one with a dial on it, but we figured some of the young guys probably wouldn't know what to do with it. I stole Jeff's joke.
Yes, you did.
And probably on the storm review, I talked with Rick extensively, a little bit with Randall, but something that Rick's kind of concerned with, and it's really on the safety issue side. When it gets dark, when the roads are bad, and especially when we're battling ice, he's concerned with having his guys out there. You know, not only for their safety, but members' safety, equipment safety, so we're not tearing something up because we can't see where we're going. And probably one of the biggest things I would like us to look at was his recommendation of looking at some sort of snow emergency alert, like the counties do, a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. So when it gets to a point where it's too bad, Rick just wants to have that authority to put that out to where our members know they shouldn't just be out on the roads. Our roads aren't flat, they're not straight. And at some point, they have to throw the towel in, go home and rest, and go back at it the next day. So another item to discuss for us. Our long-awaited backhoe is going to be here shortly. They had a couple parts they were just getting in. Jeff let us know that the parts are in. They're putting things together now. So we'll have that up and running here for spring use. Chaz already mentioned the RFID gates. They are here doing some of the legwork, putting in some the mounts in the ground at the gates where the new controllers and things will be put in, taking advantage of some decent weather, and they had an opening in their schedule. So
I don't have to sit here,
this
Margaret.
should help keep up our project moving instead of being midsummer wondering where they start. So
I'm just gonna listen
I
to
thought
it.
was a good news when they called and said they had that opening. Electric issues at the lodge, I'm going to leave to Jeff because I've not been there, seen those. he can report on those, but I know he has those under control. And the last item that we're considering, and hopefully can get around to finalizing at our next meeting in March, we're looking at replacing a security pickup truck. We've been looking at different models and brands, still have some more bids to get out. So far, Jeff's been able to come up with some pretty good pricing on actually brand new units. Used vehicles are just, the price is extremely high on those right now. And there is some availability of actual new units coming in for sale. So we'll be looking at that and reporting on that next month. And the last issue, we have the cooling unit for down in the brewery. It's a very old unit. We've had people come in to repair it. They've kept it going. It's just to the point now where its age and its availability of parts become harder to come by. Just looking at replacing that unit, because it's a piece we got to have. We got to keep the beer cool during the process, and we have to have this for that process to come to fruition for our finished project. Again, I'll leave Jeff. He's kind of give you guys more of an update on, or even Chaz, a search on a new GM. Basically, I think you say that we have had one interview that's been completed. They're scheduling others. And in the interim, Rex wanted to let me know that be working out a plan so that management committee and or trustees will work on a plan so that our department heads, security, the lodge, food services, and maintenance will have somebody they can go to for, you know, advice or some additional information if they need it until we get a new GM in place. With that, that's the last of the report that I have prepared for tonight from our meeting, and I'll entertain any questions. I would like to make one last comment. Sorry, Chaz. In the lieu, if you guys have anybody out there in TV land or this crew has an issue or a question with the new gate system, now that you're actually seeing things take place, send your questions back to your management committee or your board of trustees. We'll get you the right answers to your questions a lot quicker than maybe asking on Facebook. So if there's anything we can do to help you, we'll definitely help you with that project or understanding. So thanks. Appreciate you guys having me tonight.
Any questions for Steve? Just one quick comment. More than anything else, we need to make sure that that cooler on that beer is working correctly. That's pretty important. I would move that up to the top of the priority list if you guys would, please.
We'll do that.
Yeah, thank you. Steve, we appreciate it. Jeff?
All right, so delinquencies first. Primary delinquencies or delinquencies on our primary assessment. January 18th was $20,238, and as of today, we have dropped to $14,361. Road delinquencies as of January 18th were $2,580, and today are $1,030. At the lodge, Chaz mentioned the wine dinner coming up. It'll be Thursday, the 24th. We've got 6 seats available. I think that email blast has been out about 3 hours now, but 6 seats remaining as of the time I close my email to start the meeting. We will be featuring Whitehall Lane Winery and, as importantly, prime rib. New York strip and the salmon I'd mentioned last meeting were back on the menu. They're both selling very well. Sold a lot of salmon on our version of Valentine's Day on Saturday, as well as quite a few of those Valentine's Day dinner buffets. Back to wine dinners real quick. So in January, we had a wine dinner. And just to show what these things do for revenue, total revenue from the wine dinner for that night was just over $5,500. That's like a week's worth of revenue for us usually. And that was both the dinner as well as 144 bottles of wine pre-sold at the dinner that we always run. You always run specials on the wines that you're featuring. So we'll be doing that same thing on the 24th. In addition to the newer staff that we've seen the last month or so at the lodge and clubhouse, Tamara, Justina, and then Serena, the food service manager, we actually in the last week and a half hired 2 very part-time people. Ariana and Tiffany to also cross train in both areas. And then at the Clubhouse, Chris is on vacation. She'll be back on Tuesday. The office electrical issue that Steve mentioned, actually on, I guess it was yesterday morning, we had the lights and the outlets in the front lobby area of the office go out, where members come in. That ended up being a pretty serious electrical issue. So we've got a company that we have asked to come out, and they're going to be actually pulling new wire for all of that. When they got up in the ceiling, it turns out that the junction box had smoldered a bit. Not anything we ever want to see at our lodge. So we are now currently running on a couple of extension cords for Jessica's computer and for the server. We are looking at sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks getting AEDs ordered, the automated external defibrillators, to replace these older units that we have here. And we'll also be terminating our relationship with Centos for first aid and AED equipment, because that's costing us about $400 every 2 months. We can spend about $6,000 on AEDs, and they can be checked remotely for a contract price of $180 a year. Year-end financials, year-end always runs a little bit later because they've got to double and triple and quadruple check everything, but we should have those available in the next 2 weeks, ideally by the end of next week. And then Steve mentioned the security phone situation. They did actually fix it by the deadline that I'd given them, but the VoIP phones do require power. So every time that generator kicked off, because we have so much on it down there now, it would cause us to have to start it back up and then reset I guess you call it just the modem for the telephone. So those are working just fine, as is the cellular phone. And then we're talking with Valtech, our old provider for analog lines, about getting a hard line down there because those don't tend to be subjected to power issues. That's all I've got.
Outstanding. Any questions for Jeff? Great job. That takes us to the committee business and reports. As usual, I'll go through everybody one by one. We did get a couple things from Eric. I believe Mary Beth, you'll champion that for us, correct? And we'll start with, let's start with Linda Hodge.
The Communications Committee has nothing to report.
Communication in and of itself.
It just communication in and of itself.
Thank you. Doug Parker.
Okay, we have lakes, a few things, and food services, a few things. I'll try to keep it short. The primary thing I think for the Lakes Committee at the moment, and forgive me for looking down to read here, but in any case, the North Docks area silt dam project, that's up by the North Docks, of course, has received the engineering drawings that were requested from 2LMN, the engineering firm, for those of you that haven't been around for a while. Those have all been reviewed by the Lakes and Management Committees, along with maintenance, by the way, which is important. Of course, the reps from each of those areas met. Rick from maintenance suggested a revision of the plan to allow use of our club equipment for berm cleanout purposes. That means cleaning out the silt dam, or the silt pond, if you will. The berm, I guess, is the official term. But in any case, that had been done by outside people, outside contractors in the past. And now we're going to work on a way to be able to do it ourselves with our own equipment. The primary impact of this new silt dam, if you will, or I'll call it a silt dam. Primary impact will be on the Blankenship property at the north end, if you're familiar with that. The owner is on board, or the owners are on board with that, but have some questions, and I understand that Rick is going to stop by to discuss those with them. Current drawings and maps are available. If any of the board members need them or anybody else wants them, I can email you copies of those. Revised drawings, however, will be done. in line with Rick had suggested and recommended. And those are expected back in 1 to 2 months. If you have any other further questions, you can contact either Rex at the Management Committee or Sue Pyle with the Lakes Committee with those. Pontoon removal again is set for April 23rd, 2022. I don't know if when we approved that at the last board meeting, we asked for $700 for event expenses. Cabot, would you know that by or remember that by any chance?
You're muted, Cabot.
All right, let me try that this way. Yes, I do think that I remember receiving that request. Without having the paperwork in front of me, but I think yes,
Yeah.
for that day for food and all those kinds of things.
Right, exactly. Okay. I just needed to double check on that.
I'll have Jessica check on that again too.
Okay, that's fine. We got plenty of time on that.
Yeah.
In any case, the next Lakes Committee meeting will be March the 3rd at the Lodge at 7 p.m. Food services, and again, we only have a food services committee now, so there's just one, and there is no subcommittee as before. In any case, the committee will now meet regularly on the third Thursday of the month, normally at 6 p.m. in the Lodge dining room. J.J. Jeffers is the one who basically orchestrates those meetings, and from the management committee, that is. And with the new dining staff on hand and the committee membership itself, along with single committee oversight, and overall planning things that are now underway include long-range planning for things like the amenities fund and such, but long-range planning overall for the Lodge and the Clubhouse both. Events and specials planning, including advertising of Lodge and Clubhouse activities within the gates. We've also had a preliminary discussion about possibly reopening the Lodge dining to non-members, subject to reservations and selected dates and/or nights. So don't get all up in arms, however you feel about it at this point. It's up for discussion, and we will do it on a limited basis, certainly limited relative to the way that it used to be done. That's what the initial thoughts are anyway. Also, use of the club calendar and membership email notification systems, including access to them via the office. JJ has taken care of that, I understand. We have a couple of events in progress or discussion at this point. One's something called a Blue Jean Ball. Some of you may understand it. I'm not sure that I do, but I think it involves line dancing. And then also the continuation of trivia nights, as well as other entertainment and entertainers. But those, of course, require people to be able to orchestrate and oversee those. So that's part of the discussion, of course. So if you have any thoughts on that, let us know. Bingo and similar sorts of things that kind of have legal aspects that have been discussed in the past are all on hold at this time by consensus, simply because we'll be changing managers, and that'll be a key figure in doing those sorts of things going forward, without a doubt. Lodge updates, updating, in other words, the Lodge itself, what we've started talking about regarding possible colors for painting of trim and other areas, nothing massive. Reopening the service window to the kitchen area. Some may remember that, and some may not. There used to be a desk there too, by the way, for the old timers who will remember that. And also possibly just updating the globes for the wagon wheels. So if that subject comes up, we're not taking down the wagon wheel lights. That's not it. Some people might jump on that, and some people might not, of course. But in any case, we just talked about the globes themselves and just a little freshening there. One more thing. Yeah, this is important, and I forgot. I didn't give this in my notes to Linda that I gave today earlier. So you don't have this, Linda. Anyway, it's equipment for the Clubhouse and Lodge. The first purchase is planned to be a portable buffet. Working with Jeff to get that ordered right now. JJ is, I understand. The cost of that will approximately be $2,750, $500. No, excuse me, $2,750 forgive me trying to read here in small print. Next would be two dual keg towers and couplers. Also working with Jeff on that. The cost of those is approximately $575. That's both for the clubhouse and the lodge, by the way. Oh, that's enough. That's it. I'm done.
And that was thorough. I
There
might
you
add
go.
too that we took great care after the fire to take those wagon wheels down and completely take them apart and
I know,
refinish
I know.
them before we put them back up. A lot of
I was
tender love
I
and
was
care there
around.
by Mr.
I was
Van.
around.
Yep. Thanks, Doug. Linda Lonsinger.
Hi. So committee report really is limited this month to the ACC. In the board packet, you'll see several revisions that the ACC would like to make. Actually, one is adding the definition of easements and setbacks. And we also have, I think in the great room, Chris Donaldson, who's the co-chair of ACC, should you have any questions. But anyway, in the board packet, there's the definition of easements as well as setbacks to be proposed to be added to the architectural code. And you will also note that there is language regarding demolition. And the language regarding demolition would say that instead of 6 months, the demolition must be completed in 3 months. It may be extended beyond that 3 months. There would not be a fee any longer, but there would be a deposit of $250. So there's no $500 fee, only a deposit of $250. And there can be an extension for an additional $250. So, and then lastly, in that portion of the, well, actually, in 200.07, commencement without a permit, that is language that we had previously agreed to have in the ECHO to run for 2 cycles. However, it was inadvertently left out. So we just have it there so that you see it again and we can include it in the running of the 2 ECHOs coming up. So just want to have approval to run this in 2 ECHOs. And if you have any questions, Chris is there to help you through it.
Was that a motion, Linda?
Well, let me do exactly that. I'd like to make a motion that the changes that you have in front of you in demolition 600.01, the fee and fine schedule of section 800, and the demolition of dwellings and garages, section 600.01, and the old section 200.07, which we've already agreed to, run in the ECHO for 2 cycles, as well as the section under definitions, section 700, and the definition would be added for easements and setbacks. And you know what? That motion would be then to add the changes under section 700, 600.01, section 800, section 600.01, and section 200.07. And in also, I think that's it. You have it in front of you. Did I miss anything, Chris?
On page 2, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? On page 2 of the proposed building code revisions pertaining to demolition fees and fines, there's that section 300.09.
The easements and property lines, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But we changed the wording. It's basically the same as 200.07,
Right.
where the $500 per month is not limited then to a maximum of 5,000. It's $500 per month until it is rectified.
Correct. And the section 300.09 was in our previous submission maybe 3 months ago. And when it ended up in the Echo, it didn't show right. So there was no change at that time.
It was inadvertently left out, really. The change wasn't there.
So does
So-
that
So all of the
then have to run for
time
2
are gonna be
consecutive
together.
months?
Yes, Jazz. The whole,
Okay,
everything that we just mentioned would run for 2 consecutive months.
okay, okay. Is that it?
So then we'd receive, we'd receive comments if any, and then at the end of that cycle, we would vote as a board to accept or not the changes.
So we have a motion
Can
from
I make
Linda
a-
Lonzinger as it pertains to the proposed building code revisions pertaining to definitions for easements and setbacks and demolition to run 2 months consecutively in the Echo. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Cabot Ray. Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Cabot?
Well, it's really hard to follow Linda and Doug because they're so amazingly thorough. Particularly what I have, and that's why I didn't send you anything, Linda, because both Chapel and Pool have nothing new to report this particular month. So we can move on from me.
Fair enough. Mary Beth?
I have nothing on my own committees. Eric's committee, Ken Yost is resigning. Excuse me, from the Long Range Planning Committee as of March 1. And forgive me, sorry about the coffee. Anyway, he's resigning as of March 1. If anyone wants to step up for that position, Long Range Planning Committee will be looking for a new chairperson. The feral cat, do you guys remember we voted that we were going to let like $1,000 go through without voting on each item? I think we did it in a meeting and discussed it. Eric says he can't find any record of that vote. I don't know if it's in the minutes or whatever. So we're having a little bit of a problem with the e-votes. We're still voting on each item, but he thought we had discussed and said we wouldn't vote on each item individually. And so maybe what we do is, Linda Hod, do you mind checking back in the minutes? You don't have to do it right now, obviously. And see if you can find that vote. And that might help clear that up, and we can circulate that among the board by email.
Okay.
But do you guys remember having that conversation?
Yeah, it's been about 5 or 6 months, I would think. You'd have to go back a ways, Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember that also.
Okay, so it's probably there, and that will save him from having to send in for each of the feral cat expenses individually. But I'm not sure how how that gets kept track of. I think that was the sort of question, could become a little bit of an auditing or an accounting issue. But I'll leave that up to Cabot's brilliant numbers finesse thing. So Cabot, you can
amazing.
handle that.
I know that if in fact we find that limit though, because I've been doing a lot of $200 here, $260 there. What happens when we then reach that ceiling of $1,000 or whatever Eric thinks and it may in fact have happened. I didn't find it. We looked for it. Penny and I looked for it, but
It was in October. I just found it.
was it
Yeah.
October? Okay.
October minutes.
Is it 1,000 or 2,000, Annie?
1,000.
Okay, so
Yes.
when you reach that, we either have to vote again for another 1,000, or she'll just, Kelsey will have to submit each item individually, and that's
So
what
yeah,
we
we'll
do on
just have,
everybody.
yeah, we'll have to go back then and check every check that was written since October for that.
Okay, and then lastly, regarding the range committee, Eric has a note that there was a question from the range committee regarding our recommendation or our comments about it. We said Michelle Winship should be reinstated as a range safety officer. The question is, was it shall be reinstated? Is that what we voted on, that she shall be reinstated, or are we to vote on that issue? And my recollection is that she was supposed to be reinstated after our vote. Is that what you guys recollect? Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
so.
Okay,
It
so
does
he
count.
wanted
I might
clarification.
I might add, with the magnitude of what we're dealing with down there, I think we need to take the proper amount of time to go back upstream and make sure that we're accurate with that statement. I mean, we had a lot of conversations centering around that very thing, and I just want to make sure that we're what we say and do is accurate. Okay,
Okay, so we'll go back and check notes and stuff on that.
please.
Okay, and that's all I have from Eric.
Okay. Is that it for you? Okay. My two committees are tennis / pickleball. Not a whole lot of that going on this time of the year, so not much happening there. And also the Health and Wellness Center, which is really coming along. We've approved a lot of invoices associated with final trim work, flooring, that sort of thing. We have also heard from them as far as the cleaning the facility is concerned. Security, I think I saw an email sometime a couple days ago too, that centered around preparations to start moving some of the equipment that we're going to put into the fitness center that has to come out of Logan. So there is really been some good traction there over especially the last maybe 90 days. And it looks really nice. We had a meeting down there a couple weeks back, and they just kind of showed us around, and I think everybody will be very impressed when they do finally open it up. So that being said, that does it for the committee business and reports. Do we have any fund requests?
Yes, I have some reporting to do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Okay.
going in order of where everybody was on the screen, and somehow you jumped back up to the top. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Annie?
Yeah, real quick. Social committee, just a reminder that they will be doing a Merch Madness sale of Hideaway Hill swag. So keep an eye out for email that should be coming out if you're interested in placing an order. The Organic Garden Committee will be holding an organizational meeting on March 12th at 10 a.m. in the lodge. They have 7 new gardeners this year. All of the plots are taken. So if you did not receive a plot, there's no need to attend the March 12th meeting. But you can feel free to reach out to Greg Patassin if you would like to get on the waiting list. And that's all I have.
Waiting list for the garden committee. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, Chaz, you forgot me also.
Yep. Tim, you're kind of bouncing around on the screen too.
I have nothing for the ORV committee. And Cab, you might chip in here that the golf committee is, has their first notice in the Echo for some changes to the golf course. I have not heard any comments or any questioning or anything so far. Of course, the next Echo will be the second placement of that, and but other than that, nothing else with the golf committee.
Okay,
You got anything on that, Cab?
No, I'm glad that we got the first one out of the way, and now there will be another one, and they're pretty base. There's 3 changes, I think, or amendments, and a couple of other things, fairly minor, but things that, people probably should be aware of. One of the most important things is the fact that, you need to have your ID card with you, because that's going to be getting checked, pretty regularly. It sounds like, particularly if you're not recognizable. Make sure that your whatever it is, family member, whoever it might be, has that proper ID when they head to the clubhouse.
okay,
That, to me, is probably the most dramatic thing that I saw. Otherwise, it was stuff like, let faster players go through and things like that, which makes sense.
okay. That being said, I think we're done with the committee reports. Anybody I've left out again? Okay. Open forum. Jeff, do we have anybody that has signed up for open forum?
No, just double checking with the audience. Nope, no, sir.
Okay. That moves us to unfinished business, and really the only thing we have to discuss is our GM search. Jeff, I feel bad talking in front of you about this, but we've asked Jeff to communicate with us as far as the next interview is concerned. And we've asked Linda Hodge to run point on the GM search. We've seen quite a few resumes. Linda, can you bring us up to speed on them?
Yeah, we've had, I think there were 15, 16 resumes that came in, and we've divided them into kind of 2 tiers. More likely with the requisite kind of experience we're looking for, and then maybe, some experience. You have to have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas for this role. So some people have a few things, but not much breadth. Rex did an amazing job of going through the resumes and giving everybody a point value for the experience that they have had. We, Jeff and I actually interviewed one candidate recently who certainly is a possibility, but we want to keep looking. Unfortunately, it's now been some time in there since we first put the posting out. So I think some of the folks may have already secured jobs somewhere else. So we're going to have another organizing meeting this weekend and try to see what we want to do next, and then who else we want to pull in from membership.
Yeah, the problem there is that, people that submit their resumes to places like Indeed, a lot of times I'm running in those circles every day. They submit their resumes, and then when you reach out to them and try to schedule a meeting or a call, they don't respond.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the day and age that we live in right now. So more to follow on that. Hopefully we've got better news or more news next month. Linda, is that it?
Yeah, just so people know, Chaz, to your point, 4 of the people that I reached out to this week didn't respond at all. So no, thank you very much email. No, I've secured a job. They just flat didn't respond. So I think we're going to be into some of that. So that's going to make it more challenging.
Yep. See it and deal with it every day. Okay. We need to reaffirm the e-votes, Mary Beth.
Sure. Okay, starting with the 6-0 vote, reimburse Larry Reel $65 for pontoon lot parking refund. 7-0 vote, reimburse Rich Radowski $11.60 for postage from the Compassion Committee funds. And the rest are 8-0 votes. Pay Delaney and Company $500 to count election results on February 20, 2022. Pay John Sapp from Health and Wellness Funds for supplies in the amount of $585.44. Pay the invoice for $910.60 to Area Electric for the fitness center from Health and Wellness Funds. Pay $160 to Kelsey Witt for shelter services from the Feral Cat Fund. Refund $65 from Lakes Committee Fund to Mark Huser for storage refund. For approval of the purchase of RFID tags with an amount not to exceed $26,000. Also reimburse Joe Williams $322.44 for fitness center floor expenses. And I make a motion that we reaffirm the e-votes.
I'll second that. Oh, Tim, you want a second?
Sure.
Motion made by Mary Beth to reaffirm the e-votes, seconded by Tim Weibel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carried.
Hey, Chaz, quick question. Did we miss something under unfinished business?
I only had one item on there, and that was the GM search. Did you
Okay.
have-
That
I
may have
think
been.
Linda- Yeah, we had made a revision to that after I sent you that
Okay.
copy earlier this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay. New business topics. I do not show any, which takes us to old business topics. Annie, do you want to update us on the committee ad hoc group?
Yes, so we've been working on pulling together a draft recommendation. Our progress was a little bit delayed. We were supposed to meet last week, but with, all the havoc that the storm wreaked down here with electricity and internet, we ended up postponing that until next week. So our goal is to try to get a draft here in place pretty soon, hopefully this month. And then our next steps will be to set up meetings with committee chairs to share our ideas with them. And my hope is to also plan a couple of them because I know schedules can be kind of challenging and I want to make sure we give everybody an option to attend and discuss. So that's where we're at.
Okay, and just for those of you that don't know, the committee ad hoc group was one where we need to give our committees a little more definition as far as how to structure their committee and the people that are in the committee, how many people are in the committee, how you approve, how you anything that you could think of associated with giving the committees some structure. We certainly don't want to turn them into the board where we've got subcommittees and things like that, but we do want to give them some basic guidelines to follow. And we figured who better than the committee chairs themselves to survey and come up with ideas on how to do that. So thank you, Annie. Golf rule changes, Mr. Wabill.
Yeah, Chaz, I think we covered that in the committee report. It appeared in the Echo in January and will reappear again, or was it February? And then it'll be in March. I can't remember now, but so nothing new to report on that.
I think it's January and February, Tim.
Okay.
In that case, it would be over.
Yeah, I think it's it's actually February, March.
Yeah, that's right. Because the Echo, I was thinking of, okay, no.
Yeah.
So
What I just said.
The second notice will be in the March Echo.
Okay. And for those of you that don't know what's going on there, the golf committee had some very basic rule changes that they wanted to implement, and being consistent with how we go through that process, we felt it best to put it in the Echo for 2 months as well, because it did deal with the rules, and we've committed to do that. And regardless of how basic they might be, we're following and being consistent with what we committed to do. Key initiatives update on technology. Annie Kerrigan again.
Yes, let me share my screen. So, if you remember last month, I shared that we had gone through a number of solutions that had a lot of capabilities that would be super beneficial to us. And my next steps were really to finish the initial round of reviews. I had a couple more vendors at that point in time that I hadn't spoken to yet. So I have had the chance to review those and narrow down the list to what I'm going to call our final four, getting ready with March Madness, right? And those are Building Link, Concierge Plus, Condo Control, and ONR. So our next steps are really to start finalizing our feature list and evaluation criteria. We have a foundation of that we received when we went around before we started looking at solutions and did interviews with all the stakeholders, but I want to circle back with them and make sure we're all aligned, because not every feature that these solutions offer are going to be important. Some are going to be more important than others, and I want to make sure we hear from our office staff, the maintenance team, everyone across the board that'll be involved in this, and get their input on it. And we'll pull them in as well when we start to have second round demos. One thing I will add, Jeff, with your departure, I obviously was planning to work with Penny quite a bit anyway, but we'll try to work through that. I don't know how involved you would want to be at this point, but we can talk about that offline. The other thing I wanted to mention for Steve is it'd be great to have someone on the management committee participate in this as well. So if you want to take that back and get back to me, that would be great.
Will do.
Okay. Any
Send me
questions?
something so it reminds me.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Annie.
Yep.
Another one of the key initiatives was coming up with a method or a way to start to look at the future water situation for Hideaway Hills, and those initiatives were originally headed up by Linda Lonzinger, and I believe she's got an update on the water well measurement criteria for us tonight.
Yes. So in the board packet, there is an outline that was received from one of the hydrogeologists that we have used to help us with this project. He is a retiree. We've had really a lot of help from he and a colleague, Chris Canal, and they have given us a really great rate. So in the board packet, the outline talks about how we need to go forward, what we need to do to be able to calculate what our water drawdown into the aquifer is. How do we measure that in an ongoing way so that we have lots of notice should we ever start to go into a situation where we're drawing down too much on that aquifer. So this is a way for us to know where we are and allow us to plan far in the future. So it would require monitoring wells. We're looking at probably a minimum of 10 to 12. We like to use some wells that are kind of static at different times of the year, like the pool well, the garden well, so that we can monitor it when no one is pulling from it. We also want wells like the lodge well, which is continually being pulled from, as well as, like I said, probably 10 to 12 residents throughout the community. In selecting the areas, I would like for us to use Doug Snyder, who is the partner to this Chris Canal in this retiree hydrogeologist world. And he said that he would be willing to help us find the areas and then look at the particular wells and go through the well logs in terms of depth and do comparisons. It will help us know where it is most beneficial to measure. So I would like to put forward a motion to hire Doug Snyder. His rate is approximately $80 to $90 per hour to help us select the wells throughout Hideaway Hills, the areas, as well as a cluster of wells that we could then go to the homeowners and say, hey, what do you think about us measuring the wells? And measuring the wells can be done with a tape, a probe that we would need to purchase. That purchase is, I'm sorry, I got carried away with my motion. First off, I would just like a motion that we hire Doug Snyder to help us select the wells within Hideaway Hills. The cost is $80 to $90 an hour for his time.
Do we have a cap, Linda? Do we have a cap on those hours? Is it kind of wide open, or?
It would, I would say at this time, it's wide open, but it is finite. Once they're selected, it's done. I can't imagine it would take that long. It's looking at our map and then looking at our well log. And we have each of our wells are logged, and he can look at the well logs and help determine. I'm going to guesstimate that it wouldn't be more than 20 hours.
And so Linda, could we, and I'm sure he's not unfamiliar with this, can we have him put together a proposal for us?
Good. Yes.
And then that way we can all take a peek at it and look at it, and if anybody has any objections or questions, we can raise them, and that'll give us at least a baseline to drive off of, if you will.
So why don't I withdraw that motion then?
Okay.
And then put forward a motion to retain him to put together a proposal to establish what wells and areas we should look at for measurement.
Okay.
So
we've got a motion on the table from Linda to hire Doug Schneider to put together a proposal to monitor our wells in Hideaway Hills. And I think it was seconded by Cabot.
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Linda.
Well, I just one more thing that I think that we need to think about, and that is who will be doing the measurements. The recommendation is that they be done quarterly for at least for 1 to 2 years, and then do them yearly thereafter, or maybe semi-annually. Who would we want to do that? It would either have to be volunteers or paid staff. I would feel more comfortable personally if we had staff overseeing it and performing it, because volunteers may come and go. And we'll have to train people to actually do these measurements.
Yeah, and we have them, they measure it, they keep track of and pull logs on other things like the dam and things like that. So Steve Cundiff, are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Could we maybe see if we can't get some movement from you guys on that?
Yep, we'll look into it. So how many wells? So are we looking at any private wells? Because we have private, like
Yes,
staff volunteer. So, I mean, as long as we have some training on how to use it.
We actually have someone from the Ohio Geological Department, Jim Rabb, who has agreed to train the community, whoever needs to learn. I have his phone number. It's actually in your board packet too.
I just think it would help, because I think a member is going to be very cooperative, because that is one resource we've learned down here. When the power goes out, we really don't want to do without. I think it's a very serious issue for us. I was just sitting here looking at Fairfield County Water Department and what areas they service too, we're down the road after Lions.
Linda, is that something that the well actually has to be opened and then
Yes.
closed and shocked? So,
Well, if you, with the training, so the probe itself is cleaned. I don't want to use the word sterilized, but cleaned very thoroughly. So when you go from well to well, you should not be infecting a well.
okay, and you don't have
So
to shock it and do all that, then it's much simpler than that. Okay.
it is simpler than that if you use the probe correctly. So that's why I'm thinking that we may want certain members of the staff to be trained so that they have, they use it consistently, know how to do it, and don't have the user error that folks who don't use it very much might have. So no, wouldn't necessarily need to shock the well if done correctly, if measured correctly.
Okay. Steve, if you would if you guys could make that a topic of conversation at your next management committee meeting, see if we can get Linda some help.
Yeah, Linda, just send me some idea how many wells you're thinking. Oh, sorry, how many wells you're thinking about. Just kind of send me your plan that you got put together. So I
Okay.
can make it easier to explain to our group and then look to Rick at maintenance because yeah, they are taking those dam measurements and things anyways. So.
All
And
right.
then Linda,
They want to know what the workload's going to be. Is this, once a month, every other month, and how many locations and that kind of stuff? Send that to me, and we'll sure we can get her done.
All right.
and then Linda, feel free to send that proposal from Mr. Snyder to us when you get it. I mean, it's not like we got to wait until next month to do it. I would assume we could probably e-vote on that. Wouldn't you guys agree? Is so that we go ahead and get it started.
All right. I can get that done this week. Get it off.
Outstanding.
Okay, cool.
Unbelievable.
Appreciate you taking. What's that?
I said unbelievably good. I said, that's great. Good job, Linda.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree. And to Steve's point, you don't have water, you're done. I mean, it's just that simple.
Right.
And so I mean, and it is something that as a community of as many homes as we have in Hideaway Hills, that we need to start keeping an eye on. So thanks much.
You're welcome.
That winds down the old business topics. Linda Hodge, you have some new members.
New members. We've had no club lots sold, and we have 5 new members, or 5 couples. Christopher Mowry, lot 2136. Jack Lewis, and here's one I'm going to really mess up. Bargeheiser is what it looks like. Lot 643 and 644. Kelly McCafferty and Eric Peterson, lot 408. Corey and Diana Klein, lots 1975, 1976, and 1977, which as soon as I saw those lot numbers, I went back in time to those years in my life. Jason Russell, lot 2116. And while I'm reading new members and looking at names up here, I just want to remind everybody, thanks to those of you who signed into WebEx this time with your full name. We're really trying to make sure that we have only members who are signing into the webcast. So I've got a couple people who are still initials or something and might be new members who didn't know. But make sure going forward that you sign in with your first name and your last name, or we're going to not allow people in. We don't know who they are because we want it to be for sure members only. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chaz.
That was something new for tonight, and we really appreciate a lot of folks literally did what we asked them to, and we just want to throw it out there to remind everybody that next month we'd like to see 100% compliance.
Yeah. Even though poor Tim has no L at the end of his name, and he's Tim Wybe.
Yeah. And Linda, I sympathize with you. I was board secretary. Reading those names are tough.
Cool name, Bar Guys.
That's a tough gig.
So I will move to accept the new members.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Tim Weibel.
Okay, motion made by Linda Hodge to accept the new members, seconded by Tim Weibel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At this time, I would accept the motion to adjourn to executive session.
Chaz, can I offer one update real quick?
You bet.
So I've had a couple emails pushed forward to me that I've checked, and we are now sold out for the wine dinner on the 24th of February.
Well, the big question is, did you beat your record from the first one?
I'll have to double check the time the blast was sent out. I believe so.
Need to know that. Okay.
Yeah, research that.
Yeah. Okay, that's good stuff. Anybody else? Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I'd like to make that motion, Linda Lonsinger.
Okay, motion made
I'll
by Linda
second.
Lonsinger. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Doug Parker.
Seconded by Doug Parker, who looks like he's growing a beard.
Oh,
Fine.
yeah, just, it was the storm. Blame it on the storm.
That's great. Okay, all in favor to adjourn to executive session?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Jeff, you want to do your thing? Man, Doug, did all that happen in 2 weeks?
Yeah, about that much.
Recording has resumed. Chaz, you're muted.
I don't know how that happened. Welcome back to the Hideaway Hills Club Board of Trustees meeting, February 15th, 2022. In executive session, we discussed the need for a member to complete a building permit form and check the box for a variance, which is item number 600.04. We also made the announcement that we had completed a foreclosure and received payment in full, including legal fees, for a property within Hideaway Hills, and we now have new members in said property. As far as the board approval to vote green space lots permanent/final, we're going to once again redetermine, or we need to get a list of said lots. Those have already been determined, and then move forward with our legal counsel in putting together a proposal that we can vote them to be permanent green space. The member well in HAH right of way. They too need to check the box for a variance on their building permit. We can then perform an e-vote to approve or deny that. And if we can do it in short order, we can put it in the next two echoes so that everybody can see it. And if anyone takes issue with it, they can communicate. Article 9 is the Bremen Gate confrontation. The board elected to do nothing based on the circumstances. And the Article 9 dog bite incident, both members will be issued warnings to keep their dogs under control. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'd like to make that motion, Linda Lonsinger.
Do I have a second?
I'll second Cabot Bray.
Motion to adjourn by Linda Lonzinger, seconded by Cabot Ray. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thanks for joining. Don't forget, next month, we need everybody to sign in with their proper name. We appreciate your time. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good
Night.
night.
Aye.